Hey guys, this is the Bombay Chef Varun Inamdar and welcome to Get Curried. Well, today's recipe is a very unique recipe made using egg whites and that's called egg 65 or anda 65. Let's begin. It's an extremely simple recipe which I'm dividing into two parts. The first one, of course, is to make the fritters or the bhajias or the pakoras using egg whites. Well, egg whites, very simple. Hard boil an egg, shell it up, remove the yolks and chop up the egg whites roughly. Well, as simple as it can get. Let's transfer this into a large bowl and this would be a mixing bowl. Well, like they say, there are various theories and I've told you the different theories of a 65 recipe. Well, this one, just for the sake of a joke, could be egg cut into 65 pieces. Maybe, I don't know. Well, jokes apart, coming back to the recipe, we need all of this to kind of come together and bind together. And for that, I'm using gram flour or besan. To this, we're adding in an egg. Well, just a tip for all of you, whenever you're using a whole egg and you're kind of cracking it into the recipe, do not do that because in case the egg is damaged or not right, you'll end up spoiling the entire recipe. So always crack it into a separate bowl, check it visually, take a whiff, and only if the quality is good, add it into your recipe. Whip the egg, and I'm not adding all of it, I'm just taking a chance by adding half of it to begin with because all of this needs to come together like a batter. In case you use the whole egg, you'll have to increase the quantity of the gram flour and the eggs because otherwise it becomes extremely pasty and runny. We of course need to spice this up. We also need to bring in some element of color and for that I'm adding in red chili powder. Of course, red chilies which have good color as well as flavor. And we're going to flavor this further by adding in some Chinese elements. To this, I'm adding in green chilies. When I say Chinese, I actually mean Indo-Chinese. It's like the golden trinity of Indo-Chinese food, which is green chilies, garlic, and ginger. So let's add that, finely chopped. Well, you can increase this, decrease this, that's completely personal. Well, ginger is one flavor that goes extremely well with an egg. We kind of don't use it so much, but in case you're making a bhurji or you're making an egg sandwich, just a little bit of ginger, it could be grated, it could be in the form of a juice, goes brilliantly well. To this, I'm just spiking it up with a little bit of garam masala and finally salt as required. Well, remember the fact that salt has already been added while boiling the egg, so don't overdo that. This is only for the remaining gram flour and things like that. Let's mix all of this well. We've still kept half an egg on standby and we'll use this only when required. We need to make a thick batter without the use of water. You could possibly even mash the egg whites using the back of your spoon. Well, this is quite coarse and loose. Let's bind all of this with the use of the remaining egg. The mixture has come together. In hot oil, the next step is to make fritters or bhajias. We can of course choose to use different sizes. You can either make lemon-sized fritters or you can make marble-sized fritters. That's completely personal. It also depends on the quantity that you wish to make. One note of caution here is if you notice and realize I have not used egg yolks because egg yolks, one, are fats. And what happens with fats is the moment they start getting fried, they start frothing and we're not looking at that because that will end up messing the entire dish. Another thing that you need to realize and notice here is you do not need to start stirring this while frying because the moment you do that, all your fritters will break up and fragment into tiny pieces. Another thing that you need to notice here is do not overcrowd the pan or the frying vessel because with overcrowding, the temperature will drop and with the dropping of the temperature, it'll again start splittering into different parts. Well, there are varied interpretations of the original recipe, which was made with chicken called Chicken 65, and this one certainly is a take on that. While different theories from different societies, some said it was first made in 1965, some said the chicken was cut into 65 pieces, some said it had 65 set of spices. Well, whatever the story and whatever the truth is, trust me, it's a fantastic recipe. Once these are fried crisp and through, remove them on an absorbent tissue paper for all the excess oil to kind of get absorbed, and let's start frying the rest of the fritters similarly. Once these are fried and ready, we move on to the next step, and that is converting all of this into Anda 65 or Egg 65. Let's toss all of this in a wok. For that, of course, just a touch of oil. Not too much, because otherwise this tends to be extremely oily. Just swirl the pan all across. Once the oil heats up, the first thing that goes in it is some chopped garlic. Along with this, dried red chilies whole with the stem for a change. It just has to look nice and pretty even while plating, isn't it? Once the garlic is just kind of beginning to turn golden brown, we'll add in some curry leaves. Allow these to splutter, and with this I'm going to add in the egg fritters. Let's also add in some chopped green chilies, and this is only and only if you wish to spike it up furthermore. Just a touch of salt, a touch of red chili powder, and with this, some tomato ketchup. Now this is again absolutely personal. You can add in red chili sauce, or you can add in a ketchup which is sweet as well as spicy. Let's toss all of this. With this, your Egg 65 is done and ready, and trust me, this goes straight on the plate. Wait for no one, wait for nothing, eat this right up. In your own home kitchens, of course, you can twist this recipe into varied versions. You could classically make this with chicken, you can make this with meat, you can make this with fish, prawns, or give a complete vegetarian take and make it with mushrooms, paneer, potatoes, assorted vegetables, broccoli, or anything. Or stick to this and make Anda 65 or Egg 65. With this, our Egg 65 or Anda 65 is done and ready. Make this for your family and friends, and trust me, it's very unusual, made with egg whites.
Today I'm going to show you a really nice recipe for egg chili. Hard-boiled eggs, fried and then tossed into a really delicious sauce. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is make the batter in which we're going to dip the eggs for deep frying them. So for that, in this bowl I've got some all-purpose flour or maida, whatever you'd prefer to call it, corn flour, cornstarch, different names for the same thing, some ginger paste, garlic paste, and to this I'm going to add salt, not too much. We'll salt this recipe at different stages, so not too much in one go, and of course pepper. And now I'm going to crack an egg and whisk this together. And that is the perfect consistency I'm looking for. Look how thick that is, but yet it's not like too thick and it's runny at the same time. It's almost like a cake batter. What I've done is that I've also added about 2 tablespoons of water, but one at a time, to get to this consistency. Now let's move on to the next stage. I've already started frying some of the eggs here. So what I've done is that I've taken about 5 eggs that I've cut into 4. Some of them are of course already fried. And then I've dipped it into the batter like this. And then dropped it into the oil to fry. Now the oil is on a medium flame. Don't keep it very hot because then it'll just start to burn. We need this to cook evenly and slowly. Medium flame till it turns golden brown like the ones at the back. Pulling out the ones that are done and leaving them to drain on a paper towel. You'll see that most of these are fried and done. I'm going to turn off the flame and just drain these out on a paper towel and let them cool slightly before we move on to cooking our egg chili in a really delicious sauce. To start cooking this egg chili now, oil heating up in a wok here. I've used remnants of the oil that we fried the egg in. So first thing to go in is some finely minced garlic. Whoa. Finely minced ginger. I'm going to cook this till the raw aroma goes away. Next in are some green chilies that I've split in half lengthwise, and spring onion, just the white part. Saute this. Taking the flame up to high. You can add capsicum that's been diced. And with that, some black pepper powder. If that makes you sneeze, which it might, remember, the new normal is to sneeze into your elbow. Here I have a mixture of soy sauce and some red chili sauce, which I'm adding in now. Flame is on low. Immediately add some water. And here now I have a mixture of some corn flour mixed with water. Just give that a good mix. The water is at room temperature, not hot, very important. Add that in here. Mix it well so that there are no lumps. It will thicken up. Oh, beautiful. Take the flame back to low. And now I'm going to add the egg that we had fried earlier so that it'll get nicely coated in this delicious sauce. Remember, the flame is on low. Toss it with this delicious sauce. Remember, low flame is your friend at this point of time. Oh, beautiful. Turn the flame off. Now this is the stage when you should check this for salt. So taste for some salt. I'm also going to add some vinegar, plain white vinegar, and mix that through. This is just some of our egg chili plated up here. Honestly, you can add a little bit more gravy to it. So you can add maybe like half a cup of chicken stock and then thicken it up. It'll be yum even then. Otherwise, you can have it at this consistency. It is fantastic.
A variety of egg rolls are available all across India. But the one that I'm showing you today is one of those many that I picked up from one of my recent food adventures. Hey guys, this is the Bombay chef Varun Inamdar and welcome to Get Curried. The first thing is to make the egg kurchan, which is the stuffing. For this, I'm using some assorted bell peppers or capsicum. I'm using the red and yellow capsicum. Nevertheless, you could also use the green one. This is followed by tomatoes, also going to get sliced. And finally, some onions and chilies. The vegetables are cut and ready. Let's heat a pan on moderate flame and add in some oil. Once the oil heats up, I'll add in some cumin seeds. As they begin to crackle, I'll add in ginger, garlic and green chili, which I've crushed and kept ready. Once these are stir fried, I'll add in the sliced onions, and along with this, for some extra spice, some more chilies. While I like my food to be spicy, you could moderate the spice levels. Once the onions are sauteed, I'll add in the capsicum and tomatoes. Cook this on high flame till they're nice and wilted. While that's cooking, I'll add in some salt and spices, some chili powder, some turmeric powder, and some garam masala. Give this a mix and allow this to stir fry for another 2 to 3 minutes. The mixture is cooked. Let's beat the eggs and add it to the mixture. Give this a stir and make sure the eggs are completely well done. The egg kurchan is ready. Let's now move on to making an omelette. For this, in another pan, let's take some more oil. The oil is heated up. Let's beat some eggs with some salt. What I'm basically making is a plain omelette with just salt. Let's flip this over and cook this on both sides till it's well cooked. The kurchan and the omelette have cooled down completely, and in the interim, I've also made a soft and slack dough. And this dough will actually form the outer covering of the egg roll. For this, I'll smear some oil on the tabletop and pinch a lemon-sized ball of dough. We need to pat this into a disc which is 8 to 10 inches in diameter. But if you're not comfortable doing this, please use a rolling pin. On this, I'm going to place quarter of an omelette, like so, and top this up with the egg kurchan. Pick the dough from one side and roll it up like so. Give it a fold and tuck in from both the sides. Similarly, let's start making the other rolls as well. Once the oil is moderately hot, let's start frying these. Once the rolls are ready, we need to transfer these on an absorbent tissue paper. Street style egg rolls are ready. Do try this for your home parties, get-togethers or your leisurely brunches. But do try them and wait for what next the Bombay chef gets into your kitchen.
Hey guys, it's me the Bombay chef Varun Inamdar and welcome to Get Curried. Well, today's recipe is very simple. It's got those Indianized Chinese flavors. You call it Chindian, call it Desi Chinese, call it anything. But this one is an absolute special. I am making egg lollipop. Let's see how it's made.
So first let's begin with refined flour, which is all-purpose flour or maida. you identify it by several names. To this I'm adding in cornstarch, which is also known as corn flour. Now in this case the cornstarch is going to give it a nice crisp outside, and the refined flour is going to ensure that the batter clings onto the egg. So that's very important. To this I'm going to add in red chili powder. This is not the spicy variety, it's primarily for color because I want it nice and red in color. So that's chili powder for color. To this I'm adding in just a little bit of soy sauce. Now this is dark soy sauce. You can of course take light soy sauce. If you have some oyster sauce or hoisin sauce, you can also by all means add that. To this I'm going to add in just a little bit of salt, not too much because soy sauce already has salt. And I'm going to make a thick batter using some water. Now this is water at room temperature. Ensure that you take water at room temperature because you do not want the cornstarch to react differently. You're looking at forming a batter. Make sure it becomes nice and thick like that, and then you loosen this up with some more water. Do not thin it down too much because you want it to cling onto the hard-boiled egg, which could be quite a task if you get the batter wrong. See, it's not very thick, it's not very thin. What we also need to do is just add in a teaspoon of hot oil. Now this is oil that is kept here so that we can fry this. I'm adding in a teaspoon of hot oil. This is to ensure that not too much oil gets absorbed while cooking, while frying. Whip this up and your batter is done and ready. Now if you also see, I have hard-boiled egg here. This is egg which is boiled in cold water for 8 minutes. Now when I say boiled in cold water, it means you begin with water at room temperature and then you boil it on high flame for 8 minutes. Add in salt so that the eggs get salted right from within. I'm going to add this egg which is then peeled, cut into half. You lift it up, you drain a little bit of the excess, and then you drop this in hot oil. Similarly, let's fry all the egg halves. Now you need to fry this on high flame because the egg is well cooked already. All you need to do is cook the covering or the coating. So the flame needs to be high, remember that. Also, because the flame is high, the absorption of oil in this is an absolute minimum. Again, depending on the size of the kadhai that you're using, you can increase or decrease the amount of eggs that you want to fry at a time. This can take 3 whole eggs, which means 6 halves, but otherwise you can take your own call. Do not disturb this to begin with. Let it fry nicely on one side, and then we'll kind of turn it and fry it on the other side. Do not hasten up the turning process because you'll be ending up in removing the cover, which you're not looking at. Before overturning the egg or before turning the egg, I'm just going to splash it a little with hot oil so that it just kind of gets a little coated before it gets turned. Very carefully, we need to turn these over. They're looking like little dumplings, they're looking like little lollipops, and that's where the name comes in. Of course, we're not going to compare this with the chicken lollipops which have like a bone jutting out, or the veg lollipops which have a toothpick or a breadstick. These will look like a lollipop, taste like a lollipop, but of course they'll be egg lollipops, so that's the only difference. But by all means, you can also stud in a toothpick if you really want to replicate the look. A very important step here is to ensure that you either take a half egg or a 1/4 egg and never a full egg, because it may just start bursting and it may lead to a kitchen accident. That's very, very, very important thing to notice here. So remember that. So the eggs are fried and ready. They're nice, crisp, and they're also a little tough if you see now from the outside. That's what we're looking at. That's the kind of texture that we're looking at, because it's of course nice and soft within. So this is the kind of crackling sound that must come. So the eggs are fried and ready. Let's remove them on an absorbent tissue paper. Of course, this is going to drain all the excess oil. Let's move on to the next step, and that is making the masala of the Indo-Chinese egg lollipop. Let's begin with making the masala, for which I'm using the same oil, just like a tablespoonful of oil. Once that heats up, I'll be adding in green chilies. Just allow these to splutter on high flame, of course. They're just kind of beginning to sizzle. To this, I'm adding in crushed garlic and paste of ginger. We need to literally saute this on high flame, and this is till the time the raw smell kind of goes away. This is going to take roughly a minute. To this, let's start adding the rest of the things. The first one is chili powder. Again, this is going to be red in color, so I'm using chili which has good color. Along with this, black pepper powder, depending on how spicy you're looking at. A little bit of soy sauce. And a tablespoonful of tomato ketchup. Now this is to kind of balance the flavors. I'm going to give all of this a mix. While you're doing this on high flame, you also need to be a little careful about not burning all of this, because it's not going to be right in terms of flavors otherwise. You know, smoking is one thing and burning is another thing completely. To this, I'm adding in just like 1/4 cup of water. Allow this to bubble, sizzle on high flame. And to this, I'm going to add in salt. Now, salt we need to be careful about, because of course soy sauce has salt already, and the ketchup also has salt. So just like a touch of salt. To this, I'm also going to add in the eggs which are fried and ready. And along with this, I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of the batter which was remaining. So I'm just going to smear it in like this. This is the batter which was from the eggs. This batter is going to help in coating all of this on top of the egg. It's also going to retain all of the masalas on top of this. Now, you can add in just a little more water so that the consistency is adjusted. And all of this is going to wonderfully thicken because of the cornstarch in the batter. So with this, your egg lollipop is done and ready. Now, of course, if you want to kind of add in some more ingredients to this, in oil, of course, you could have begun with some onions and capsicum also. Well, I like it personally, so I'm going to add it. But so I can saute it separately and add it. But nevertheless, if you want to skip it completely and just make it as basic as this, that's also absolutely perfect. What I'm going to do is throw in some sauteed onions and capsicums. But again, that's completely personal. For now, the recipe is done. But I like taking it to another level, I'm going to do that. But again, if you like it nice, basic, simple, it's done ready. For the onions and capsicums, only and only if you are going to use this, I've taken a teaspoon of the same oil. Once that heats up, I'll add in capsicum and onion. These are large dices and onion petals. Just a touch of salt, and we saute this on high flame. Once all of this is sauteed,
You of course need to retain a bite because the bite will taste really nice. It'll add into a wonderful crunch. The softness of the egg and the bite of the onions and capsicums is going to have a wonderful mouthfeel. So once this is done, of course, off goes the flame. Onions and capsicums, of course, go on top of this. One final toss. You need to be very careful at this point in time because you do not want the eggs to kind of break. Of course, you don't have to really toss it till it starts screaming for tension. This is just perfect. Now this of course is done and ready and goes straight on the dinner table.
Eggs are an absolute universal favorite. Well, multiple recipes can be created using eggs. Today, I'm making a simple and a sumptuous crunchy egg finger. Well, you've not heard of that before? Let's see how it's made. Hey guys, it's Varun Inamdar and welcome to Get Curried. Well, it's an absolutely simple recipe for which I'm using chicken eggs. I'm going to salt this well because this is the only time salt is going to be used in this recipe. And also some pepper, freshly cracked pepper for that powerful flavor. You can actually choose multiple ingredients to kind of bring out the flavor in the crunchy egg fingers, but I'm keeping it minimalist. I'm just using salt, pepper and a basic Indian flavoring, and that is coriander leaves. Whisk this well. The eggs are whisked and ready. Let's keep this aside and let's start with the cooking process. I'm going to heat an omelette pan on high flame, and to this we need to add in some oil. Let's first begin with making a frittata or a thick omelette. Once the mixture is hot enough, you need to swirl the pan like so and ensure that it converts into curd-like mix. Well, this is a step that's actually going to ensure that the egg becomes nice and fluffy at this stage, and that's actually going to help a little while later. Loosen the sides like so. Cover this and on low flame, allow this to cook for 2 to 3 minutes. It's been 2 minutes. If you notice, the egg has kind of started to rise and there's a lot of steam that has now developed. Let's open this and have a quick check. Oh, look at that. That's how the omelette looks at this stage. Absolutely fluffy and wonderful. The next step is to loosen the sides like so. Take a plate right on top and flip it over. Very, very, very carefully. With this, you have the most amazing and fluffy omelette of frittata, which actually forms the base of the crunchy egg finger. The next step is this cools down completely to room temperature, after which you need to keep this in the refrigerator or in the freezer so that it becomes nice and chilled. So let's do that. Our egg frittata, our omelette, is cooled well. Let's take this on the cutting board and cut these into desired shapes. Well, because we've named the recipe egg fingers, of course we're going to cut them into thick batons of fingers, but otherwise you could cut them into round squares. Absolutely personalize it. The next step is to dip this in an egg batter. Roll this in corn flour and breadcrumbs so that it kind of gets breaded on the outside, and that also adds into the crunch. Just a touch of salt and pepper to this as well, because of course this is going to add in to the volume as well of the crunchy finger. Let's keep that aside and let's move on to the breading. For that, I'm actually going to take a mixture of corn flour along with breadcrumbs. Well, you can take toasted breadcrumbs, you can take fresh breadcrumbs. The choice is absolutely yours. In this case, I've used toasted breadcrumbs. Let's move on. The first step is to dip the finger in the egg, bring it out, ensure that the excess egg mixture drains off, and roll it in the breadcrumbs. Let's keep this aside, and similarly, let's start crumbing all the fingers. Our egg fingers are crumbed and ready, and this is the stage when you can actually transfer these in a container and this can get frozen, while you can freeze it easily for at least a month. Drop these in absolutely hot oil because there's nothing left to cook in this. All you need to get is a nice golden brown crumb on the outside. Well, as you see that these start turning golden brown, start pulling these out of the oil, and with that you'll have the most amazing starter with eggs, albeit a little different. Don't wait for all of these to turn golden brown at the same time. Because of the size, because of the little contours that we've created, they may start browning individually at different points in time. Use your judgment and start pulling these out at the right time. With this, our absolutely crunchy egg fingers are done and ready, and this goes amazingly well with mayonnaise, with chutney, or with tomato ketchup. Or you can also check the description box below because I remember showing you 3 different dips. Stunning with this for sure. On that note, do not forget to like and share the video and subscribe to get curried.
Hi, this is Smita and welcome to Get Curried. Today I'm going to show you a egg kebab. This dish is absolutely simple to make. For that, I have boiled 3 eggs over here and I have shelled them. I have boiled 4 potatoes and I'm going to mash them. And now I'm going to add my dry spices to this. 1 teaspoon of garam masala powder, 1 teaspoon of amchur powder, 1 teaspoon of red chilli powder, 2 green chilies finely chopped, and some coriander, and lastly some salt. I've already kept a kadai with oil to heat over here because we're going to fry the egg kebabs, and I'm going to mash and mix this mixture really well. Now, what we're going to do is take 1 boiled egg and coat it with this potato mixture. And I'm going to coat this with breadcrumbs. And now I'm going to deep fry this. Keep the flame on a high and fry till it's nice and golden. This one's done. Let's get it out of the oil. Let's coat the other eggs as well with the potato mixture. This one is ready as well. Our egg kebabs have got fried and now I'm going to slice them and serve them. Take a sharp knife while you're doing this. Our kebabs are ready. To make these kebabs even more tastier, you can sprinkle some chaat masala on this. My director Narayan is vegetarian and he's rethinking about his decision of being a vegetarian, and the rest of the crew is saying wow. So do try this recipe at home and let me know.